Welcome to Nkanizatu, the pod that tells indigenous stories every day, the platform that tells you what's good and what's odd for young people and elderly alike in the areas of art, history, and culture preservation. And now your host, Rina Kasongo.
Do you ever feel like indigenous culture is old school? Or maybe you do not understand the inspiration behind certain artists and whatever that they do? Welcome to Nkanizatu, where we tell indigenous stories every day. Now, if you're one of those that haven't been able to connect with culture, arts, and all things in between, this is why I encourage you to tune in with us right here, because we have so much that we're going to be talking about. But let me not get ahead of myself, really. We have, I would call him the Tyler Perry of Zambia, really, because this man knows how to tell art. He knows how to tell stories. He's telling indigenous stories every single day on TV, on radio, in books. He reads a lot of books and many other things. He is the essence of Nkanizatu. You're welcome.
Oh, what an honor. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm really honored to be on this particular episode.
Who is Yoeli?
Oh my God. A lot of people have a problem with answering that question, but I do not have a problem. Yoeli is a storyteller who has mastered television and film as the medium that he has chosen to tell his stories. So I'm a Zambian gifted storyteller who tells stories or paints moving pictures. Yes.
Now, this is something I've noticed. I've noticed you use your wedding. But every time one to Tent Amanda finishes, is that executive producer part, and there's Joel Capefo.
Yes.
So I'm like, I know your wedding. Who's Joel?
Oh, yeah.
Why do you prefer being called your wedding with
Thank you.
government name is Joel?
Joel. I love the name Joel. Please don't get me wrong. Joel means the Lord is God. It's a beautiful name. It's lovely. But I went through a process. I went through a transition of beginning to recover my identity. And I felt that the Christian name of Joel wasn't worth moving into the new phase of my life. I wanted an indigenous name. I wanted to earn my own name, my own identity. I drive around town and I've seen some colonial names. I've seen some English names of some roads, and I'm thinking to myself, why, this is almost 60 years after Zambia's independence, why haven't we recovered some of the names? Why are we still calling it Roads Park and not calling it Maluva or whatever the original name was? For me, it was part of a spiritual awakening, becoming, I think I should do a book called Becoming Yoeli, for people to understand how I transitioned from being Joel and owning my own identity and becoming Yoeli Chungu. Joel is also still Yoeli.
Yeah.
It's just that I owned it Mchitondo Chatu. I really wanted to own the name. I wanted to own my own identity. And Chungu is a name. That's my middle name. I would prefer, the Kapungwe is my late stepfather's name. I honored him when he raised me, and I felt that he was such an interesting man. He looked after me when I was young. It was very automatic that I would honor him by taking his surname. But the truth is, it's not really my name, so I am Joel Chungu or Yoeli Chungu, and I've just owned my identity. I turned 40 recently, and part of that process of turning 40 is beginning to own not just your identity, but we own our own life, So I'm 100% responsible for the energy that I carry.
See what you're doing right there? You're already educating us.
Yeah.
To say you don't have to go to the past in order for you to connect with who you are, but you just need to identify what's within you, just as you did with your name. And you're like, you know what? Joel, Yoeli, this is something.
And a name is a vision confessed. There's some people, even in the Bible, if we went to the Bible, God changed people's names. Abraham to Abram.
Yes.
Sarai to Sarah. I can go on, and talk about the importance of names. We must understand that a name is a vision confessed. So sometimes there are people who need to really begin to think about changing their names. Example, Mafuto. What are we calling in the room? We're calling problems.
Problems. Well, Maputo, if you're listening, you're still a blessed person.
You are. You can. There are certain ways of how you could, clean out the negative attachment to your names. But I've seen some people. I remember in nursery school, and this is crazy. I still remember most of my nursery school days. There was a girl called Mrs. She was always crying. Always crying. Because of the name. So a name, kumankalati ibwera na spirit. The name is like a spirit. So we have to be careful of how we name our children. It's very important. Sometimes you end up naming your child after the most notorious witch in the village.
What? Actually, I know a few people.
You do?
Yeah. They've been named a certain name and they can't stop fighting.
No, they don't know. Sometimes you need to change your name, especially when you have this consciousness, the Africanness in you. You can change the names. Though, I'll give an example. Bible changes in. Or what that person did was pray. Because sometimes you can't change your name.
Yeah.
Jabez in the Bible prayed to God to say, "Oh Lord, that you may enlarge my territory." Like the mother named Jabez because she bore him in a time of sorrow. And so for her, Jabez, the name carried sorrow with it, but not until he prayed about it. So it's not all the time that you need to change. Sometimes you do some cleansing.
You know what? I think we need to have just another episode where you just come and talk about the intensity of a name.
Yeah.
Yeah. However, what is the most thing that you've been misunderstood for as a person?
Wow, I've been misunderstood. I think I've got people who think I'm quite arrogant, and I actually posted something today about it on Facebook, where I was saying, please stop calling me Abanavo. When people say Abanavo, Abanavo.
But how do you know they call you Abanavo?
I've heard, I've seen, first of all, people talk, and I tell people you need to be careful, because even the walls have got ears. The trees, they're all part of nature. They carry the things you say about people. I'm very careful what I talk about people in my closed doors, because you don't know how things are just taken and people just know. Because words are like spells. They're an energy, Even the Bible, I will refer a lot to the Bible, the fact that we are in a Christian nation. I don't want people to misunderstand when we talk about indigenous knowledge and beliefs and stuff, and then there's this whole confusion about what is Christian, what's not. The principles are the same. God, according to Genesis, he said, let there be. So we need to be careful with not just our names, which is already a principle I've talked about using the Bible, but we also have to be careful what we say. So you may be surprised that you say something, sometimes you say something in the presence of people, and people still come and tell you. I'm very careful what I allow in from people. I usually tell people, not dust bills.
So you've heard people talk like
people have said it. Sometimes it comes out of where people misunderstand you because they think you're so arrogant. They mistake arrogant. They mistake confidence for that, because we don't have a lot of people who are confident.
Yeah.
And I'm one example. I work so hard. I've worked so hard to get the nice things that I have, the quality of the shows that I do. And there are people who are small-minded. They will think you are, some people may consider you as a threat. Some people may consider you as, sometimes it's just petty jealous, but they don't know that half of the time that every success requires a sacrifice. So some of us have made a lot of sacrifice on our health. I'm 40, and I was looking back just before I turned 40. I started going back, auditing my life. And I realized that I gave film and TV more than half of my life. I could have done other things, but instead I invested so much in, to make this work. And now that it's beginning to open up and take me around the world, and the quality of the stories we are telling, I laugh at people come and say, Abanabo, Bazimvera, because they don't get it.
So other than arrogance, what else is you misunderstood for?
I think even with the indigenous, I remember when we told the Ubuntu story.
Yeah, there's been a lot of controversy.
There's a lot because of the there's a lot of this. Look, if you're going to tell an African folklore, and Ubuntu was an African folklore, Atashimi, you're going to have myths, you're going to have traditional beliefs, which some people call witchcraft. You're going to have all those elements. My story wouldn't be complete if I did not touch on those topics. The truth is, it is true. And whether we accept it or not.
Other people would say, why are you projecting, this narrative? Because then people are now looking at Zambia as a witchcraft nation.
No.
What are you trying to teach us?
I am not. I was very particular. And if you've been followed the show, you'd find that wherever there was any misuse of any negative thing, whether it was like the witches were in Ubuntu, they got punished. There's a consequence for every action that you take, either a reward or a punishment. And I punished every form of negative use of the powers that would have been called witchcraft or magic. I did, if you followed the story. I was also very symbolic. I remember one season where we had what we called the Valley of the Dry Bones, where our character, Kasongo, has been kidnapped by the Queen Mother, and she wants to sell Kasongo to the mountain witch in the story. And this is Kashimi, guys. You've heard these stories.
Yeah.
So, Vanamunyamura Pompereka to the mountain, which is in Ubuntu, they had to pass through the Valley of the Dry Bones. I take that from the Bible. And when I talk about Kasongo,
you take that from the Bible?
Yes, because there is a valley.
And here I am thinking as though Ubuntu is just witchcraft.
No.
This guy is probably a Satanist.
No, and that has probably
He could be the head witch.
Well, you know what? I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian. I love God. I grew up in the church. And I use symbols the same way Jesus used the modern parables. He used, the parables. The parables were stories that he made up.
Yeah.
Because we've understood that God has created all of us with an active imagination. And sometimes to tell stories, we need to use symbols. Okay? And I use a lot of symbolism in Ubuntu. If people got a chance to see what we call the mood boards when we were creating, because I designed a world. So the world would have this template. Every season of Ubuntu was different from the other season.
Yeah.
I wanted you to experience a modern folklore. And if people had even seen my original pitch for Ubuntu, my original pitch was supposed to be a kalulu and a hair. I was going to do what Hollywood has done. You watch Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
They mix a human being with a hair, like with a kalulu and, all these animal traits. We couldn't do that. We didn't have a budget for it. We didn't have the thing. So I ended up taking a kashimi and telling it in a very metaphoric way by mixing it in a normal modern world, but keep true to the laws of the story. So when we create a story that this is going to have witchcraft and magic and spells and all these things, and the truth of the matter is that my intention is and was very pure. Ubuntu was about identity and power. We're having a conversation about the people who understand who they are and whose they are have more power than the people who don't know. Example, in Zambia, a lot, and this is my opinion, I'm 100% responsible for what I'm saying, and I'm not even here to change people's mindsets. I'm just here to challenge you to think, or to open your mind a bit more. I have noticed in the 40 years that I've lived that many Zambians don't have an ownership of this country. Example, Mwameni Karachepa road yapa, valeta constructed to come and construct a road. None of us in this neighborhood will take time to look at the quality of the work they are doing.
No, we wouldn't.
And then after 2 weeks, we're going to find potholes, and we're going to let those potholes become these huge potholes. No one. So pamapita na ministers, pamapita na machan, but they're in the fancy cars, the comfortable cars. They don't bother until now the road is all gone. And I've noticed how people litter. There's a year when it took Wakapokona to beat us up and to force us in town to clean up.
Yeah.
When you drive in town on a Sunday, it's a disaster area. Because you're going to find people litter, they eat, they throw, but yama banana bataya, vima paper, vima plastic all over. Can you do that in your own house? Now, karero naenda kitchen, sitting Nadia, I throw bananas pakat by a pit. We let it pile. So we don't have a sense of ownership. This is our country. We need to look after it. We need to invest in it. We should all be interested in understanding the quality of the leaders who are in the system running, you know what I mean? What are they doing? People don't know what half of the time what's happening. Yeah. When you go on social media, people are spending so much time cyberbullying each other, bullying each other, and pulling each other down, you know. We don't focus on the important things. Yeah. We don't support each other in the right things. The minute someone says, oh, there's a leaked video of someone's nudes, that will be viral. No one will celebrate to say you went to Tunisia to represent Zambia in this beautiful, important event. No one will celebrate that. That doesn't make news. But the minute we hear you shown us your chintapo,
it will trend.
Even pastors who want to see, can I see that video? And I'm saying this, I'm not attacking pastors, don't get me wrong.
Send me the video.
It's everywhere. And I'm so sad because I think we don't have, and we don't own our own identity, you know, even worse of our country. And first of all, we are in a landlocked country. The worst part of it is that a lot of Zambians are mind-locked. So their minds are not open. They are locked. We pretend to be so exposed and, you know, but the things we do to each other show me that in deep inside my Fontini. And I say that out of love because I've had my Fontini moments as well, where I realize I'm really not exposed and I'm a bit backwards. Yeah.
Anyway, you have quite a lot to express in regards to people not owning their identity.
Yes.
Yeah. When you were introducing yourself, you described yourself as a storyteller, a filmmaker. I didn't hear you talk about family. Can you tell us more about that?
No, I'm a family man. And it's taken me a very long time to realize the importance of family. And I believe that God's plan is a family plan. When you look at the Bible, him putting together the first family, you know, and just how he worked in families, the different families he used. He used Joseph in the Bible. Joseph, to save his family and to save nations, you know, through that 7-year drought that happened at that time. And so I was so busy for a very long time. My focus, my priorities was always my work, my work, my friends. Then I would even sometimes come number 3 or number 4. And my family would come after me. So for a very long time, I focused so much on work, until when I crashed. We had a year when everything went bad. We lost, the house was on fire. We lost our studio, our equipment. Someone dear and a beautiful soul who worked for us was caught in that fire. That's a whole conversation. Survived it by God's grace. And that made me start realizing the importance. I had to change my priorities. We all need to go back. And I began to feel like as a hypocrite. Because for the first 7 years of our work as YCF, the company that I represent, the organization that I represent, we had focused on empowering other people. And I neglected my own family. So the minute I realized how everyone just scampered and left in my biggest disaster at that time, I began to see how my family was very important. I realized you can work when you're creative, and I want to challenge every creative. It's good to be so creative and you're creating all these pieces of art, your books, your poetry and whatever. But are you creating a life for yourself? Do you have something to fall back to? You know, when all this creativeness at some point just dries up or just becomes irrelevant. So I realized I needed to create a home for myself. I needed to create a safe space. My home is very cozy, by the way.
It is. I love this place so much.
I spend a lot of time at home. That's one thing people don't know about me. I spend a lot of time at home. I'm now raising 2 kids. And I'm saying 2 kids, but in the actual sense, I think I'm raising 11 kids. Because even the adults are kids.
Is your wedding married?
Yoedi is not married. Yoedi hasn't had the inspiration or the aspiration to quickly get into marriage. First of all, I'm a very modern young man. I'm a young man, and the modern young man is more interested in setting up foundations. But what he already has done, even when I'm single, because I think I do more, I achieve more in my singleness than if I had a wife, because then we would change our priorities. The priorities wouldn't be my priorities, would be our priorities. So to find that partner who will put my priorities or the priorities that I have is that I feel would hinder the ministry that I have. I have a family ministry. I have a ministry for young people. I call it a ministry because it's a business, but there's a huge side of YCF that gives back a lot. And so we are investing at this moment. For 7 years, I invested in the community. I had young people coming from different parts of the country and eventually outside the country who came in to stay in our home, which was the same hub that burnt down. And I think if there was a wife in that picture, she would have just said, no, we can't have this happen. We're too busy. We need to set up our family. But then the 7 years I invested in training people into film, storytelling.
Okay. So then how do you handle societal expectations towards that part of your life? Because in our normal Zambian setup, it's where mommy, daddy, children. So how do you handle that kind of experience?
Yes. That's very important. You see what comes with you beginning to understand who you are and whose you are and having your own identity. It gives you a certain strength. It gives you a certain, and this is where I think also the misunderstanding comes in as well, where now you have people begin to question you and begin to put you in a bottle and stuff like that. They put you in this box. The truth is there's no box. When we talk about thinking outside the box, that's not true. There's no box. That's the truth. There's no box. Someone had to create a box because they felt safe to say, I think outside the box. There's no such a thing. So with society, one thing we have to understand is that the Zambia we knew in 1964, the Zambia we knew in 1991, is no longer the Zambia we are in 2023. We have to, number one, move with the times. I'll give a very practical example. The way we watch TV. The Zambia of 1964 barely had TV. If at all there was any TV, it was in very few homes. I doubt there were. Because I think TV started showing up in the 80s, maybe the late 70s, I stand to be corrected. And very few people had TV. By the 90s, I remember now as a kid, we were the only ones in our, one of the few people who had a black and white TV.
Yes, at the TV.
Yes, and people would bath, my friends would bath at some it was us at that time. And you see, when I say this, people think it's arrogant. I really mean it in a good way, in the sense that we do need to hype ourselves up. And so, yes, we were that was happening. So now when you see how people have so much access to TV, and it's not just the TV that would start at 17 and close at midnight. People now have TV 24/7. They change channels. They've got Netflix. They've got all these things. That Zambia has changed. We must move with the times. Kudala, it was expected. You're already 12 years old. Prepare to zakwatiriwa. That's not the Zambia. Today, Zapumanga. 1 or 12 years old can't get married. 1 or 14 can't get married. Kudala, our parents did get married at that time. We have moved with times. And so I do not, because I'm a very strong character, I have set, like I've told you, those thinking outside the box, which is just whole nonsense to me, is for me, I know who I am. I know whose I am. I've got a huge assignment and a huge responsibility. And I tell people that I'm going to write my own legacy because nobody has celebrated. Zambians don't have heroes. We've got a lot of villains.
We're celebrating heroes day today. So what are you
But what does that even mean? What does that mean? What does even just the independence mean to me? Nothing. It's stories we failed to even, as filmmakers, have even failed up to bring up stories of the heroes. Who is telling a story? What do you know about Mama Chika Monica? Or even, Simon Mwasakapwep? And the few information that they see in the
They'll
books,
see their photos.
the photos, and people don't even take time to read. They don't invest in these things. So, I mean, let me correct that. There are a couple of us who are reading. But very bravo, thank you. I'm going to change that negative prophecy to say Zambians don't read. Sorry, Zambians read. It's not everyone else. But the truth is, we do not know how to celebrate our heroes. Right now, the only statue I've seen is the statue there, Yawakeke Japapa, Long Acres Mall. I would have loved to see a Simon Mwansaka Poepo one by the airport. A beautiful statue of him. I would have loved to see Harry Mwangankumbula and all the freedom fighters around the world. When I travel, and by God's grace, the work I do has made me travel around the world. When the Chepafu Pichem Kenda South Africa, and you go to Zimbabwe, you go to Rwanda, they've got all these heroes squares. They celebrate their heroes. You see the films they're telling about Steve Biko and all these things. We don't tell those stories. Yeah. We don't even know our history. And that's why I'm so sad to think that we don't know who we are and whose we are. Our ancestors weep all the time because we haven't honored what we needed to honor.
Okay. So just to conclude on that, so your reason to not get married yet is because you have identified who you are and you understand your time.
I have a bigger responsibility. I was created in a very unique way. I'm not like anyone else. I have a mission, I've got a dream, and you called me the Tyler Perry of Zambia, which I'm honored. But I think I would rather be the Yoi Dichung of Zambia, of Africa, because Tyler Perry's path is it may be very similar to mine, and he's my inspiration, one of my inspirations. But I think I'm designed to be in Africa to tell. Tyler Perry was so lucky enough to be in a country like America, which is so developed with film, even before he was born. But he said, we're the ones who are now starting this. So I think my bigger vision is to create the creative industries. And I haven't said creative industries. I want to do books. I want to bring value and an economy to it, a creative economy. So I think bigger than being stuck in marriage. I haven't aspired for marriage yet. It may even happen when I'm 45 or 50. I'm not going to be... I was born free. I tell people I was born free. I wasn't there in 1964 or 1950. Chaput. The time I was born in 1983, I, my friend, found a free Zambia. So I'm a very, very free Zambian who has the power to decide when I want to do this, want to marry. And I'm so privileged because now we have access to so many things. So people, no, you're supposed to follow this. No, we have to, we are no longer in 1964, where they put a gun to you to get married. I feel sorry for the women. This is even tougher on the women. At a certain age, everyone wants to strangle you with, you have to get married.
You're not married, then that's not a woman.
You see, that is a wrong one. And Nival Fontaine, that's a very federal way of thinking. The new world, you may not even have children as a woman. You can even get to your 40s. And now we have a lot of orphans who need a home.
Yeah.
We should adopt children. We don't necessarily have to have children of our own.
Actually, this is why I love people like yourself coming on Kanizatu, because then you're showing us cultural preservation isn't so much about reliving the past.
No.
But it's about embracing what we have currently and adding meaning to who we are.
It's about balancing it. Yes. You have to find a balance between the past and the present to project a future. And this is why people miss it. Even me, who has been trying to preserve in my own way, trying to preserve the old ways of living, have also understood that we have to have a balance with where we are today. What's the Zambia that is today? And what is the Zambia that was? The Zambia that was at 16, 14, you can marry. This Zambia does not allow that. That's child abuse, early marriage or whatever. We have to now, how do we balance it? You have to strike a balance. And we are living in the best of times. And people don't see it. We are in the best version of Zambia. We don't have to be running, doing burning and doing picketing and rioting. Though I know people do that. But I will tell you that we are living in the best of Zambia at this moment. The opportunities, the world has opened up,
Yeah. If you were to have coffee with any historical figure, who would that be?
It would be Nelson. He was born for a bigger purpose. he had to sacrifice his family. And all of us, like me, have also put off what other people would think should have happened before I was 40. You know, it could happen at 50, it could happen at 45. It may never happen. Just live with it and accept it. So he inspires me because he really was, he was the vehicle for the biggest change that we saw in South Africa. We would have had World War III in South Africa happen if it had been someone else that have said, let's burn down the white people. But he came in and there was all this whole reconciliation thing. And it's a whole complicated thing. I don't even have the right to talk about it because I don't fully understand it. But I would want to tap into his humanness. Because for me, leadership is not a title. It's a position that you're born with. You know, it's kind of like a birthright. Yeah. And I see in him a leader, and he was gentle. I find him to be very gentle, even through what he went through, you know, in prison. That it was very unfair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Of course, there's been Tent Amanda Street.
Yes.
The hot cake in town.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind on the day Tent Amanda Street as a story was birthed?
So, first of all, let me not even take credit from the original creators of Tent Amanda Street. We have people who created that show. That show came to me as a gift. I call it a gift because it was a time when I had just wrapped Ubuntu. I was even deciding to take 2 years away from not doing any creative writing for TV. I was going to focus on raising the kids, my kids at home, and just bringing my family together, looking after my grandmother who hasn't been well. I was like, I'm just not going to do anything. And I was even thinking, I'm just going to write a book and build a garden, which I already did.
The Garden of Genesis.
Yes, the Garden of Genesis, named after my beautiful daughter, Genesis. I was going to just not do anything because for the last 4 years before that, I had overworked myself. You know, I'd overworked myself to a severe burnout. I burned out completely. The creative work started tasting like dust. Even food itself would taste like dust. I went into a dark spot at some point, mental health, had a nervous breakdown. I didn't care about anything, really. But then, the time when I was about to let go, and I had just said, I'm not going to do it, Tent Amanda Street, I got chosen to be the producer of the show.
Oh, so you didn't create it?
No, but what I did was I Yoelified it. Yoelifying means I had an opportunity, I was given the privilege to read through the beautiful script, but I enhanced it. So that's why if you watch the first 15 episodes, you'll see 2 names of writers. My name is very constant from the beginning to about episode 15, I think so, or 16, where I got a chance to start looking at the opportunities that were missed. So I have a process I call the Yoelifying. I come to Yoelify you. Right now, you're being Yoelified because I'm letting you come into my world. And I tell people I live a fantastic world. It's such a gift to be Yoeli at this time. And so what went in my mind was, wow, what an amazing story. I wanted to make sure that I honored the story. First of all, I had an opportunity to tell a story in the Shanti culture. After leaving the Tushimi culture in Ubuntu, what are culture norms? What are the nuances that make the Shanti very vibrant and attractive? And because it is a beautiful life. I tell people, let's not even despise it. I know of people who lie that when they stay kukumbon.
Yeah.
And I'm so sad that they're not proud of who they are or where they come from. And so I wanted to be very truthful to the culture of the Shanti, the indigenousness of the Shanti. Yeah. I really wanted to. I was like, people don't talk like this. People don't go to yoga, because in some of the scripts there were people going to do yoga things. I was like, no, we can't do yoga. It's not a Zambian thing. I mean, Kumayad people do it now. They're very open-minded. Here, people go down the road, take their girlfriend and wenda badiako to agulako to mafrizits in a vitumbo apakona. And that's what I brought in. Kadate kachitika. I mean, now I know people take people to Hungry Lion and all those nice places. But yeah, before then, yeah. So that's what I thought. I just thought I was very privileged to be chosen to tell this story and to own it. So that's what I did. I owned the story. produced by other people.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And now it's making airwaves.
It is.
We love it. I love the camera especially.
Well,
Take us into the...
yes. It was a deliberate move. We were very specific on the shooting style.
Yes, it has a different...
It does have. We wanted to also go with the theme of Tamanga. So you see the camera moving most of the time.
Yes.
It only pauses a bit and it continues moving. Yeah.
Makes me feel like I'm also there.
Yes.
This guy is about to steal. This guy is about to go in.
Yes.
I love that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
What's that one thing that your business or successful venture did that you didn't expect?
To give me an opportunity to empower over 100 people who work under our production company. So I've got artists, and mine was, I didn't go for qualifications the way the norm says you have to have a grade 12, you have to have a degree. I went, do you have a gift? Do you have a talent? Do you want to learn how to mix your gift and make it relevant by putting it in film, putting it in storytelling? So I didn't, in the beginning when we were dreaming this, because I dreamt all this, I had a vision for this. I have plans for these aspirations. But what I didn't realize that I could give people who school didn't work for, the education of school didn't work for. So I have people who don't even have a grade 12 certificate, but they have got a gift. And now they make sometimes more money than the people who have the degrees, you know. And let's even balance that. I do have people who work for me who have a degree. I didn't have a degree because I decided to drop out of university because I realized I was in the wrong place. I was trying to impress my parents by going to university. I was like, you know what? University doesn't have the filmmaking thing I want to do. We didn't have it. We don't have it.
No, I'm not surprised you dropped out.
Yeah.
Like, already I know brave odds. Like, you just...
Yeah, but I do it very informed. I'm very careful. So here's what you do when it comes to breaking rules. You first have to master the rules, understand the rules. Then you will know where to break in a way that you get away with it. A lot of people make a mistake. They just come and break the rules and it becomes a disaster. I did realize that I was meant to do something bigger than just be a filmmaker. So what people don't know is that I am being positioned to become a big captain of the industries, the creative industries, not just in Zambia, but in Africa. And I have had to make the necessary sacrifices, the hours of mastering every aspect of storytelling for TV. I'm going to leave this and I'm going to now master how to tell stories in music. I'm going to master how to tell stories in books. And I'm going to also master the business side of it, which I'm now currently, I'm a newbie in the business community. But then telling my stories. And that's why my accountants have got degrees and all these people who did go to university. I respect that as well. If that's your thing, that's your thing. I had to tell my parents, listen, this is not for me. I'm at university. I am wasting your money. I'm wasting your time. And I prayed about it. I fasted about it. I spoke to different mentors about it. And I knew that if I did not step out and follow my passions, I would spend the rest of my life being miserable.
What course were you going to do at university?
I was probably going to be a teacher. I was going to, because I am a teacher by calling. When I say by calling, some of the gifts I have identified I'm not just a storyteller. Because of the gift of communication, all of us have to take time to study our gifts. You know, one of the gifts I have is I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher now. Probably when I'm like in my 70s, 80s, I want to teach at a rural space. I want to be at a farm and then look for underprivileged children. And I'm going to set up a little school for them. But I'm going to teach them skills for life that sometimes the formal education does not give us. They teach us to go and look for work. The first thing that I would want everyone to learn is not English. I would want them to learn how to farm. If they had made education compulsory from grade 0, I think we would utilize this beautiful land. There's a lot of wasted land. We're not growing enough food.
Sure.
We should all grow our own food.
Okay. I know you've been traveling quite a bit or a lot. How is the status of Zambian film currently? And really, what determines this ranking? Like, how do we say, okay, now Zambia is there, it's there? What determines all this? But firstly, how is the status?
So we're currently an emerging industry. emerging in the sense that now TDP tax. If you don't know, we're paying tax.
Okay.
We are also, like, just I think 2 weeks ago, NAPSA came in to tell us now we can also, contribute to NAPSA, under the informal sector. They've acknowledged we're here, and already those two must. There's the film policy somewhere floating somewhere with stakeholders, the right government people, and our leaders in the arts, and that's already like that's a big thing. We've been acknowledged by the president. The president came to see a Zambian film.
I was amazed.
I was like, wow. So they see we're here. And interestingly, the title of the film, the Lawrence Thompson film, was "Can They See Us?" And I was like, can government see us?
They're starting to.
Yes. So we are, we're not where Hollywood is, and I don't think we'll ever get to where Hollywood is. Hollywood is over 128 years or whatever years. And so we're in a good space compared to 1990, Chakut, when we used to watch Play Cycle with Southend and Maximo. We stand on their shoulders. And today now we've got your beautiful Mpali, Zuba, landlord, Miss Landlady, Ubuntu, Tentamanga, now there's Kopala, there's Pamaliket. Zambian filmmakers are finally having their voice heard.
Okay. And how would you rank us in Southern Africa?
So that's a very good one and a very difficult one. Compared to our neighbors, let's start with the most developed, South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
The television industry in South Africa is really doing well. They've now slowly also started building the film industry, and people don't know the difference.
I thought they always have this film industry.
No, it's the television. That's why they see Dingos and them.
Mm-hmm.
But now slowly the film is coming in. Slowly Hollywood is shooting in South Africa. That's a big thing. South Africans are telling their award-winning stories that go and connect, on like Oscars and whatever. They're getting awards coming. Maybe they've got 2 awards or 3 awards now. That's already a good thing. So compared to them, because they're now the measure we're using. Yes. I think them, Kenya, Nigeria. Nigeria is a bit far from us. You know what I mean? But the Kenyans, but the South Africans are the closest we have. And when you look at Zambezi Magic, who are our main distributors of television products right now here in Zambia, we're doing very well because the channel was designed for the 6 countries that share the Zambezi, and Zambia has really stepped up. We have more content on, if not 99%.
Nigeria to go and get an award from.
We got awards. In the African Oscars, as I like to call them.
Yeah.
And so that should tell you that Dambochitika. And we're in the right path. The only thing that I would want to really encourage people, especially the filmmakers, is we really need to work on our mindset, because we've adopted that mindset. When other visitors come, we treat the visitors well. When we remain, we don't treat ourselves well. I've seen a lot of people going to watch a Zambian film with a mentality to shoot it down.
Yeah.
Didn't
you write about it? I saw something.
I did recently write about it. I said, we need to be careful. Let's stop looking for faults in each other, and let's stop witch hunting each other. It's a small industry, an emerging potential economy. We need to support each other. I go to everything if I can, if my schedule allows. If not, I will be on social media posting about it. I will call the people. Yesterday, I remember last night, so excited about Kopala. I called the young man who's in Luasha. I've never met him, but I found his number. I was like, I gotta just celebrate him and just say, young man, welcome to the industry, And I'm looking forward to the OAS one that's coming out this Friday. And he's a master of storytelling as well. So I can't wait to see how everything plays out. But the ranking, kuna part of Africa, South Africa better watch us, Kenya better watch us, Nigeria better watch us. We are coming. And when we come, we are taking over. We are taking over. Zambia Kuchalo, as they say, there's that Zambia Kuchalo thing, the slogan. But we're definitely coming, and Zambia will be the channel, because we've got the right policies, we've got the right atmosphere, the friendliest country. It's a beautiful place. We can accommodate foreigners. We're not fighting over thing. That's how complicated conversation. But I think we are the right people. This is where the film industry in Southern Africa should happen. This is where this should be our home.
What's that one question that you thought I would ask but I didn't ask?
You really, really have this very intelligent way of making me feel very What do I think you would have asked that you didn't ask? You know, we've done a couple of interviews here and there in the last few years, and you always amaze me by doing your homework. And maybe because you know how I'm gonna answer you. You're very open-minded. I don't know if there's a question you didn't ask. I don't know.
Okay, maybe. Is there anything else that you want to add as we just close down?
As we close, it's just probably me just telling to the listeners, the viewers of this podcast, to say that Nkani Zatu, our stories, we cannot, and I've said this over and over, and I think it's going to be like the theme of my life. One of the themes of my life will be very constant is we cannot accept our own invisibility. Our stories, our narratives. I mean, there was this whole conversation with the new Shaka version. People were fighting. We can't be compared to Henry Tseles. I was like, guys, that was a story that was told from someone else's point of view at that time in the 80s or whatever time they made it. It had quite a lot of influences, even from the outsiders. I'm going to be very polite. I'm not going to say what people have been saying, but we have now our indigenous version of it. It has context. It's grounded. It even gives me gaps because I've been studying African history, with our Ngonis and this whole migration that happened, people running away from Shaka, moving from this thing. It now makes a lot of sense for me. I can see the picture painting itself backwards. So I want to say that, yes, Zambia is a modern country and we're moving forward. We're part of the global voice, the global market, but we should never forget who we are. We are Zambians. We should never forget whose we are. We are for Zambia. We come from Zambia. We come from people who the founders of this country. We have forgotten to honor their dreams. We are actually their dreams, I'm probably Southern's dream, Maximo's dream when they were doing Play Cycle.
Yeah.
And now I'm telling Tentamanga Street, and I've got some amazing stuff that will come out soon as well. And so we should never forget to go back and look at our culture, to earn back our names. I would love to see Rhodespark go back to the original name, Thornpark. They all had different names. I know there was Malubaluba, there was what else? I can't even remember some of the names that have gone. Because we need to take back our narrative, recover it, and begin to write our books. So when you see Sydney, Mponda, Mponda, I think that's how we pronounce it.
Yeah, Mponda.
From Soul Train, writing books about his experiences and his visions and his hopes, and writing books for other people. You must support him. You must support him. You must support this podcast. Anything to do with indigenousness, our Zambianness.
Yeah.
We cannot accept. We must protect our specific Africanness. Remember, there's South Africans, Zimbabweans. There's also the Zambianness that we have. We have to go back and revisit it. Some little traditional things and some things we've inherited from our parents, we need to let go. Example, yes, we honor visitors when they come. We starve ourselves when visitors come. We put them on our nice beds. It's nice. But we are not kind to each other. We're not kind to ourselves. I've seen that with the social bullying. I'm really sad. I see how people just mess up each other. Why would you take pleasure in seeing people being humiliated and embarrassed? I don't think that's a very noble humanness to do. So as Zambians, can we go back to the nicestness? Because Zambians are really nice people. I've traveled around the world. Guys, the first thing I miss is you walk down the street, you find a woman selling rape, and you're lost. Mommy, sorry, I'm lost. I'm going. Because sometimes she even says, let me escort you. She names her business. That I have never seen in all the other countries I've lived in.
It's about minding your business.
They mind their own business. People are just private. But Zambians are beautiful people.
Yeah.
Yes, let's celebrate ourselves. We are beautiful.
Yeah. So I thought I'm just gifting you this. Let me open it for you.
Oh God, I love this. I love this.
So that you write your stories better. I thought of giving you Nkanizatu.
Oh, telling indigenous stories every day. This is lovely. You see, when you give a writer like me this, you've just given me a weapon. Last time, Soul Train gave me this amazing notebook, and it's my prayer book. So if I show you the visions that I've been having, I write them down, the prayers I have. I'm writing down my plans because it's such a special book that it sleeps next to my bed.
Wow.
And this one is going to be personal because I feel like I should write down my very intimate thoughts. So I'm doing a book, and this will be the perfect one. I'm doing a book of remembrance. I want to remember every person who was kind to me. So in a day, if you came and said something nice to me, I'm going to write it down. And one day my children and my generations will remember. They'll come look for you and they'll award you something nice.
Oh, wow. I like that. Please hold on to that so that they can come and award certain people.
Yes.
You know, I think it's very beautiful.
Yes.
That a couch of gratitude.
Yes, we forget that. One of the ways to get lifted, to get your promotion, is you should learn to honor people. We sometimes don't honor people, even in that when we are here, we talk ill about our bosses and then we go and pretend to be shunned. There's something that happens in the spirit when you dishonor people. Somehow it will come to them. Promotion. So start honoring people in your family. Start with your parents. What I'm telling you, if you had to call my family, they will tell you, I don't forget my parents. I don't forget my grandparents. I start there. And then I go out and I also learn to honor myself. I'm hardworking, so I celebrate myself. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for a very, very rich conversation. I must say, a very timely one. And this is what Nkanizatu aims to do. We are telling indigenous stories every day. We are back again. Tune in and listen to what another artist, creator has to say about our indigenous values. They matter. You matter. That's why you have to listen to the Nkanizatu podcast. I am your host, Rina Kasongo. Have a pleasant afternoon, evening, or whichever time that you're going to watch or listen to this podcast.